Let's look at these ICT macros by LuxAlgo, and definitely I will start with the description of this indicator. So the ICT macros indicator aims to highlight and classify ICT macros, which are time intervals where algorithmic trading takes place to interact with the existing liquidity or to create new liquidity. So basically you can see that this interacts with existing liquidity or creating a new liquidity. So you can basically see this indicator is majorly focusing on liquidity. Okay, so guys, in this video we're just going to look at this indicator called the ICT macros. So we're just going to understand about all its features and basically the usage of this indicator, and we will be able to use it executing trades. Okay, so guys, welcome to Money Close FX Education YouTube channel. Maybe it's the first time you came across my channel. I really welcome you. Kindly join us by subscribing to this channel, clicking on that red button, rate and subscribe, and definitely you'll be part of this amazing family, because I believe and honestly I know this is where you belong. If you're ready, part of this family, I really salute you. So guys, let me show you how to insert your indicator. So to insert the indicator on your chart, you're just going to tradingview.com. Once you go on tradingview.com, you're just going to click on indicators tab. Once you click on indicators tab, you're just going to type the ICT macros LuxAlgo. Once you do like that, this is how it's actually going to appear right on your chart. And guys, as you can see right on chart, there is a lot of things that you cannot really understand. There is what you can see actually highlighted, there is what you can see written. That is what we're just going to pay attention to in this video. So you're supposed to understand that a macro is a way to automate a task or procedure which you perform on a regular basis. So in the context of ICT teachings, a macro is a small program or a set of instructions that unfolds within an algorithm which influences price movement in the market. These macros operate at specific times and can be related to price runs from one level to the other or certain market behaviors during specific time intervals. Okay, they help traders anticipate market movements and potential setup during specific time intervals. So to trade this effectively, it is important to understand that the time of the day when certain macros come into play, it is strongly advised to introduce the concept of liquidity in your analysis. So macros can be divided into three categories, where their macro classification is calculated based on market structure prior to macro and the market structure during the macro duration. Okay, so guys, let's have a look at these types of macros. You can see, so number one, we have a manipulation macro. Number two, we have expansion macros. Number three, we have accumulation macros, and that's what basically you can see on chart. So right here you can see we have accumulation macro, we have expansion macro, expansion and manipulation macro. So just going to look at all of them. Once you look at them, you're basically going to understand what it really means. Okay, so let's go to manipulation macro. That's what we're just going to start with, what is basically what you can see right here. So when you see here a manipulation macro, this is how it is. Manipulation macro, just as you can see right on my chart, it means manipulation macros are characterized by liquidity being swept by both on buy side and sell side liquidity. Basically you can see manipulation macro sweeps buy side liquidity, and as what it sweeps the sell side liquidity. We have talked about the buy side liquidity and the sell side liquidity on LuxAlgo concept. By the way, I did that video so recently, so if you don't understand what we mean by sell side liquidity, you can check out that video. So guys, that's what we mean by manipulation macro. You're supposed to understand that it is characterized by liquidity being swept both on the buy side and the sell side liquidity. So let's look at expansion macro. Expansion macro, basically this is what you can see on chart right here. They are characterized by liquidity being swept only on buy side or sell side. Prices within these macros are highly correlated with the overall trend. Okay, so you can see right here we have an expansion macro, expansion in the pro trend direction, and there was a form of liquidity swept before this macro, which can be either a sell side liquidity or a buy side liquidity. Remember what we seen before, it was swapped in both, but on this side it's actually swapped on any either buy side liquidity or sell side liquidity. So ideally you are positioned in the beginning of macro before the expansion occurs. That's what you're really supposed to understand. That's why I have these simple charts to make you understand more about this indicator. So let's look at the last one, what we call accumulation macro. So accumulation macro, this is actually what you can really see on chart. So you're supposed to understand that accumulation macros are characterized by an accumulation of liquidity. So price within these macros tends to range. Okay, so when you see accumulation, you're supposed to understand that prices within these macros tends to range. And basically you can see on chart when we have accumulation tends to range. This is so evident. So when you see accumulation on chart, you basically see that price within these macros tends to really range. Okay, so often in the form of a retracement, and as well skip trading this macro. So it's advisable to skip trading this accumulation because it is a form of retracement. Okay, so that's what you're really supposed to understand about the type of macros that we see in this indicator, which is actually manipulation macro. We have the expansion macro and accumulation macro. That's what you're really supposed to understand. And as well, I would love to clarify on this. So when you see this indicator, you're supposed to understand that the script returns the maximum or minimum price values reached during the macro interval alongside the average between the maximum or the minimum, and extend them until a new macro starts. So these levels can act as your support and resistance levels. That's what you're really supposed to understand, that these levels over here, they can work as your support and resistance level. And you can see they're actually shown with this arrow over here, which shows as support and resistance, meaning these are zones where we are supposed to look the market from. And by understanding what we've seen about this type of macros, the accumulation, the manipulation, you can basically know how to approach them. Okay, so in accumulation, we told you you're not supposed to execute trades, but on other one, you see they are actually characterized by liquidity. So you know how to approach those levels because they're very, very, very important. Okay, so what you're supposed to also understand about this indicator, it strictly works on 1 minute time frame, 3 minutes time frame, and 5 minutes time frame. It cannot work in time frames that are more than that. So as well, you can see there is time shown. So these are 8 macros that be displayed by the script. So 4 are enabled by defaults. Okay, so it shows the New York macro and the London macro. Okay, so that's what you're really supposed to understand also about this indicator. So you're supposed to understand also all the required data for the macro detection and classification is retrieved using the 1 minute data set. This includes candles as well as pivot or swing highs and lows. This approach guarantees the visually presented objects are same highs and lows on higher time frames, as well as the macro classification remains same as it is in 1 minute chart. So guys, that's all you really have to understand about this indicator. It's working so perfectly well. It is actually very, very important. So base this on what I have really shown you on chart. Okay, so guys, let me hope you've learned something from this video regarding this brand new indicator called the ICT macros by LuxAlgo. It's indeed very, very great. So the only thing you really have to do is understanding the types of macros you probably see on your chart, because you will see all these macros on chart, but you really have to understand what each macro really shows. Okay, so guys, I wish you nothing but the best. Continue working hard, because I really know one day your hard work will pay. So what do I say, guys? Bye bye, see you in my next video.